Invincible is one of the best superhero shows I've ever watched, and everything about it is great. The story is amazing, the fights are cool, and the characters are interesting. And speaking of characters, the show has many villains, like a lot, more than I remembered. So what I wanted to do is talk about every villain from each season and rank them amongst each other to see which one is truly the best. Yes, every villain, at least so far in the show. Also, a little disclaimer, while I will talk about most of the villains, some of them might not make it on the list, and if I missed one, just let me know down in the comments below. Also, I'm not going to be talking about the comic ones, because I'm just going to focus on the ones that just made an appearance in the show. I'm also going to be ranking them in 4 tiers, starting from the no aura tier all the way up to GOAT tier. And without wasting any more of your time, let's get to the ranking. So first up we have this no aura having mofo, Elephant. I think that's what his name is, I don't know. This dude copied Rhino's whole swag, but for some reason, he's way lamer than him. Like, come on, Rhino has to be one of Spider-Man's most mid villains ever, and for some reason, this dude made him look like the absolute GOAT. I get he's supposed to be some sort of parody, so I'm not taking him super seriously. The only thing interesting about this swagless bozo is the fact that he's vegetarian and him getting dog walked by Oliver. But apart from that, he's just lame. Also, his costume design is
But
not
what the
it.
hell?
Okay, so now we have the loser duo, Furnace and Kursk, however you pronounce it. I swear, we've only seen these dudes like twice, and both times they got their shit rocked by Invincible. The first time was when he was absolutely getting jumped by Battle Beast on the other guys, and the other time is when him and Oliver tag teamed them. Again, these dudes are just bottom tier trash. There's literally nothing special about them. Okay, I do kinda like the designs, especially Kursk. I know the show made him look like a basic bitch, but the comic design looks really cool. But at the end of the day, this dude is just a less memorable Powerplex. And yeah, Furnace is just there, I guess. Next up we have the Flaxons. I swear, all these dudes are straight fodders. No, like literally, there were no interesting or memorable Flaxons at all. And the only reason why I placed them here is because we got this cool ass scene with Omniman absolutely destroying their planet. I'm talking about demolishing these losers, putting up some serious KD. And we got Debbie's fine ass over here saying, oh, he's probably asking them nicely to leave us alone, while this man was genociding their entire world. Like, dude's a menace. Okay, enough Omni-Man glazing. The Flaxons are just boring both in design and as, antagonists, I guess. The Reanimen were cyborgs made from people D.A. Sinclair kidnapped and worked on. They were super strong, being able to kinda put the beats on Invincible. Now, given this was a way weaker Invincible, but still, that's an impressive feat. Considering that they played a decent role for that arc in season 1 and the fact that William's boyfriend got turned into one of them, this made the story a bit more emotional for the characters, which is why I decided to place these guys here. But still, they're just foot soldiers at the end of the day. Next up we have, Vidor? Look, I don't care what this random bozo's name is. He has zero aura. And you know how shitty that's gotta be that you're a Viltrumite, yet you're not even cool in the slightest. Like, I can't remember a single voice line from this guy at all, and I'm pretty sure most of you, yes, you, don't even remember this dude's existence. I was only reminded of him only when I started making this video. You see, he was in season 2 and he was part of the Viltrumite team that came to arrest Nolan on Thraxa, and the only memorable thing he's done is fight Nolan. And look, I know some of you guys are going to say that he kinda gave Omni-Man the works. First of all, Omni-Man was clearly distracted by his son getting his weak ass beat. Cause literally not even a minute later, Omni-Man turned this dude's brain into mush. To be honest, I don't want to talk about this guy anymore. He's just there and didn't even stand out a lot. Now we're moving on to mid tier. These are just your mediocre villains. Like, they don't stand out or anything. And the first person here is Doc Seismic. This bald freak is just not that fun to watch. I swear, when I saw him in the beginning of season 3, I was like, not this bozo again. And the fact that Invincible and the whole entire league of superheroes had a hard time against him is kind of insane, I'm not gonna lie. Like, come on guys, Doc Seismic. Y'all losing to Doc Seismic of all people. This old bald ass fossil. Okay, to cut him some slack, his powers are somewhat interesting. He has the ability to generate shock currents causing earthquakes and tremors, and can control large subterranean creatures. So I guess this dude is technically a powerhouse if he used his powers right. But at the same time, the man looks like this. So the fact that they lost is still pretty hilarious. Now speaking of hilarious, the main reason why I play Seismic here is because he's kind of funny at times. And again, the fact that he was able to capture all superheroes in the country, that's a good feat, not gonna lie. But everything else, like his design, is just kinda lame. The next villains we have are the two gay dudes in season 3. What I actually liked about them is that we saw them before. They were with Battle Beast fighting Invincible in season 1, but now we get to see where they're coming from. Without any dialogue, we get to see their struggles with wanting to quit villainy and stop being criminals. However, the system makes it super hard for guys like them to reform. Mind you, these dudes were criminals, sure, but they weren't super hardcore or anything. They mostly just like robbed banks, and the only time we saw them doing something super serious was again when they were fighting Invincible in season 1. I really like how the show tries to portray certain villains in a more human light. Then after we see their struggles, we literally see Oliver and Invincible beating the absolute brick out of them. Their story is the main reason why I placed them here, but apart from that, they're still pretty mid, especially when it comes down to powers and design. Next up we have Viltrumite Mark, and before I talk about him, look, don't expect to see all Invincible variants here, because while they were cool, most of them had either off-screen deaths or didn't show their personality at all. So I'm just not going to talk about all of them and only talk about the main ones that stood out to me. Starting with Viltrumite Mark. Now in terms of his past, we don't know too much about him, but I'm assuming he was kind of raised similar to our Mark, except he was probably told about Viltrum pretty early on in his life. Something I find interesting about him is his expression. He doesn't seem happy at all. Like he's just doing what he's doing just to, build his own image of the Viltrumite Empire, or expand it. But still, don't get me wrong, this dude is still, evil. But come on, he has a sad face. But all that aside, this dude is still pretty mid in my opinion. And the only reason why I placed him in this tier is because while he specifically doesn't have a lot of story importance, him and the other variants definitely made Mark's week a living hell. Next we have Phantom Mark, or Dark Invincible, as that's what they call him on the wiki. Okay, so now that I think about it, where the hell did Phantom Mark even come from? Why did people start calling him that? Not only that, but other marks like Shiesty Mark. Some people call him that while others call him Veiled Mark. Honestly, I really find it funny how the community just named these guys the first thing that comes to mind. Okay, all that yapping aside, Phantom Mark has a lot of D-Riders saying that, oh, he's sad, he just misses his mommy. Like, bro, are we forgetting this dude literally destroyed cities, causing destruction across the planet? He's not some saint. Like, don't get me wrong, the fact that we get to even see a glimpse of his emotions and personality is great. It shows that he's not just some random variant, but one that has deep feelings. But people online were literally babying this dude, acting like he was Mother Teresa or some shit. Okay, that aside, the reason why I placed him here was because compared to the other villains I've mentioned so far, his impact, while not solo, definitely had long-lasting damage. And come on, his suit is absolutely fire. I don't know, I'm just a big Spider-Man fanboy, and it kind of reminded me of that. Here we have General Krieg. At the time of season 3, we haven't seen anything much of him, except for the time he was talking to Mark and sucked his shit back in season 2. What stood out to me was his voice. He sounded pretty cool and threatening, and apparently he's one of the stronger Viltrumites, at least according to the comic book readers. The only thing I know about the dude, and just a warning, skip to the time mark up ahead, because I'm going to talk about slightly light spoilers. Okay, so the only thing I know about the dude, which is pretty cool, is that he has multiple wives, which is honestly some real baller shit. Okay, so I know I was only ranking them based on the show, but come on, I had to place him at least a little bit higher due to this alone. Darkwing 2. This fake ass Batman. Like, how are you a ripoff of another ripoff? But shit talking aside, I do have to give credit where it's due. While Darkwing 1 wasn't all that interesting as he literally got murked in the first episode, Darkwing 2 is way more of an interesting character. You see, he was the sidekick, assistant of the original Darkwing, and after he died, this dude took up the mantle. For some reason, he resided in Midnight City, a place that's always cursed to be under the midnight moon, basically just Gotham, just cursed. Darkwing seems to have a very twisted morality, as the first time we saw him, he was chasing some dude ready to kill him, and the shot also shows bodies of people he already killed. Now, Darkwing does have some interesting powers unlike his predecessor. He can move to this alternate realm called the Shadowverse that is completely black and filled with terrifying monsters. We see him using this power while fighting Invincible. Now, powers aside, when it comes down to his costume, I'm gonna have to give it a D rating, because it looks so lame. Now, the last important thing he did was helping to save the heroes that Doc Seismic captured. But even though that's a good feat, his character still didn't wow me enough to make me want to place him higher. Next we have Lucan. Why did I place him here, you might ask? Well, he looks like Steve Harvey, and I kind of find it funny, so I don't know. That's it. Multi-Paul. You know, I kinda wanted to put Paul in the no aura tier just by the fact that he's associated with Duplicate, but I decided to cut him some slack and place him here instead. Because to be honest, bro is actually really creative with his powers. Like, that whole attempted prison breakout sequence was really cool. Other than that and his relationship with his sister, there's literally nothing else to talk about. So here we have the old dude that can turn into a dragon, Mr. Lu. I'ma keep it a buck. It's a really cool ability, and the fight scene between him and Invincible and Adam Eve, despite the shit animation, was still decent for the most part. However, there's just not much more I can say about him. I mean, it's just a guy that can turn into a dragon that happens to be a mob boss. That's it. At this spot, we have Thula, who's an absolute baddie. Like, come on bro, where's the love for the gilfs out there? Anyways, Thula gets this spot because, to be honest, while she wasn't all that crazy in terms of feats and stuff, she did show up quite a few times in season 2, which made her stand out a bit. Also, her design with the long braided hair with the knife attached to the end looks really cool. She was also part of the reason why Alan got so strong due to her and her homeboys jumping the shit out of him. Bro, now that I think about it, the Viltrumites kinda operate like thugs. They just be on some straight ignorant shit. Now in terms of standout moments, her ganging up on Alan was one of them, but the most memorable one in my opinion was her fight against Invincible, and how Omniman stepped in and absolutely disrespected her, destroying her mouth, having her looking like this. But yeah, in terms of story significance, she's also great. Now we're moving on to decent tier. These were the villains that, you know, just somewhat stood out to me. Like, they didn't have a crazy amount of like screen presence, or they didn't really do anything super crazy. Most of the time they were just on the screen for like a short amount of time, but again, they stood out to me at least way more than the mid-tier villains. And the first person here is Goggleless Mark. You know, the one that was beating the Guardians while shit-talking them? I don't know, I found this guy hilarious and wish we saw more of him, because he did not have to do Shapesmith like that. Like, bro was straight up disrespecting him, mocking him and shit. Now, was he super relevant to the plot by himself? Not really, but was he fun to watch for the 20 seconds of screen time he had? Absolutely, and that's why I placed him here. Mohawk Mark. Again, what made me place this variant so high is mostly because of the impact he and the rest had in the war arc, but what made him stand out was his personality. Sure, his voice is kind of annoying, but it was kind of fun watching him bicker at the other variants, and shit talk Invincible during their fight, and because of this he became one of the most popular variants. Now in terms of memorable moments, it's mostly the fight he had with Invincible where he got handled rather easily now that I think about it, which makes me think that most of the variants weren't that strong compared to our Mark. The other time was his little fight with Powerplex and him making fun of the other Invincible for missing his mom. Like, come on bro, that's not cool. But yeah, this Mark was definitely an interesting villain. The only thing I hate about bro is his stupid ass mohawk. Like, how do you leave the barbershop confident with that stupid doodle on your head? Anyways, that aside, still a really cool villain. At this spot we have the most popular Mark variant, Sinister Mark. If I'm being completely honest, this Mark has the best strip ever. The yellow and black complements each other well, and the cape is just chef's kiss. I wish that our Invincible had this design instead, but I get it. Kinda has a dark vibe going on that fits a villain a bit more, but it still looks really cool. Now the reason why I personally like this Mark variant a lot compared to the others is because he's just, I don't know, batshit evil. The way he was hunting down Armstrong, or in better words, a different version of Armstrong, and his iconic line, "Oh, poor Angstrom," really made him memorable, not to just me, but to a lot of people as well. But I would be lying if I said I wasn't at least a little bit disappointed that we didn't see too much of him in the Invincible War. But hopefully he makes an appearance again next season. Again, I just love this dude's chaotic but smug personality. Next up is Anissa. The moment she showed up, I knew shit was about to go down. Well, technically nothing really went down except for her beating the bricks out of my boy Invincible. Now sure, you might say she doesn't have a lot of personality, but I like the whole stoic thing she got going on, which makes her feel like an actual soldier. And I also like the fact that she's more of a warning villain. Like, she's not there to completely wreck Mark, but telling him to get his shit together because someone way less lenient and bloodthirsty is gonna arrive. In my opinion, she stole every scene she was in, and she made it clear that, hey, I'm not here to F around. Because when I saw her grab Amber's neck threatening Mark, I was like, let's go, I mean, oh no. But yeah, Anissa is pretty cool as a villain so far, and I can't wait to see her return. Okay, what the? Alright, never mind. Here we have the Lizard League. Usually villains like this would be at the bottom of the list because 1, their suits are lame as hell. Like, y'all gonna pick out some drippier outfits? And 2, the name. Why the Lizard League? Out of all the names, y'all chose that one. That's like the Sinister Six calling themselves the Sinister Octopuses or something. The name just doesn't sound cool at all. But either way, the reason why these guys ranked a bit higher is because of their impact. Mostly the impact they had on certain characters like my GOAT Rex and Ray. The Lizard League at first seemed like your typical punching bag type villains, and during the fight with the Guardians, the heroes are actually putting up a decent fight, until this big buff ass dude started going crazy. You can tell he carries the hell out of this lame ass group. He ripped Kate like she was nothing, he swallowed and crushed Shrinking Ray, and the man had the audacity to say yum afterwards. Like, bro is genuinely deranged. This even had Rex doing the dash. Bro is genuinely scared for his life. But luckily he clutched up at the end, but my boy lost his arm because of this. Due to this event, Kate hid away, saying she wanted no more of that hero life. Ray was in critical condition, and Rex got some character development and became a better man. So again, while the League didn't have a primary role as villains, their impact on some of the characters were heavy. D.A. Sinclair. This man is responsible for creating the Reaniman. He's genuinely evil, and the main reason why I placed him this high was mostly because of the impact he had on Mark, William, and his boyfriend's mental. I mean, imagine being put under painful experiments just to turn into one of these things. Your mind and body just under excruciating pain 24/7. That's horrifying. And the fact that it happened to a character that was somewhat close to Mark made this even worse moment for him. What's even crazier is the fact that Cecil decided to basically free Sinclair and force him to make more of these things. Sure, they didn't go through the same pain because I'm pretty sure the new ones are kinda dead, but still I would have been pissed off too if I was Invincible. Even though I did think he was acting way too much on emotions. But again, I completely understand where he's coming from. This guy was just scummy, but despite that, he did have an impactful moment not only on Invincible, but other characters, so that's why I placed him here. King Immortal. This was just a one-off villain, as it's just Immortal in the distant future who's now the King of Earth. But he's basically a tyrant who's lost his mind. I'm glad Immortal made it on the list so I can get a chance to hate on him. But to be honest, I think bro deserves a break for once, and speaking of break, this is what King Immortal actually wanted the most. Basically, Immortal was chosen to be king sometime in the future, but after years on top of years, he started to hate it. He just wanted to die and rest in peace, and there's no one else on the planet that can challenge him. Which makes me wonder how sorry the heroes are in the future. I mean, you're telling me no one can beat this fraud? Anyways, when he reunites with our Mark, he gets his hopes up because in his mind, he knows someone can finally kill him. Invincible didn't want to do this at first, but Immortal basically forced him to. Honestly, this is one of the main reasons why I would never want the power of immortality. Because as much as we hate on this dude, he's been through a lot. And this doesn't justify his actions of, well, becoming a tyrant, possibly killing multiple people for no reason, but it just goes to show that as he ages, the more insane he gets. This moment definitely stuck with me, and this is the main reason why I placed Immortal, well, King Immortal this high. Now we have Powerplex, Invincible's biggest hater, or second biggest hater. There's another guy who tops him. Pause. But Powerplex is definitely up there. I mean, bro is straight up the most, how can I say this, stupidest villain in the show. He blames Invincible for the death of his sister and niece during the battle with Omniman back in Chicago, which I completely understand. Even though we as the audience knew it wasn't his fault, from other people's perspective, especially Powerplex, it makes sense to why he would get mad and put blame on Mark. However, the way he went about this was so dumb, and I blame his dumbass wife for, encouraging this stupid ass vendetta. Because of their weird elaborate plan just to get at Invincible, he accidentally fried both his wife and child, and then had the audacity to blame Invincible for that as well. Like, no bro, your dumbass did that. The whole episode with Powerplex was more of an emotional one that showed you the perspective of a side character whose life was, altered due to something the main character was a part of. And because of that, I think he's a very interesting villain. Really dumb, but still interesting. Also, his powers are cool, and the fact that bro took down an Invincible variant kinda bumped up his aura points a little bit. Now we're at GOAT tier. These villains are literally the best of the best, and they stood out more than anyone else in the show. And the first person we have here is Machine Head. Come on, what's not to like about this guy? He has the voice, the design, and the charisma of a great villain. Every time he's on screen, he's entertaining, and the mini arc with him in Titan was great, and he was responsible for giving Invincible one of his biggest beatdowns. And speaking of that, how the hell did bro find Battle Beast in the first place, and convinced him to do this? No, seriously, how? Did he find him on a job site or some shit? Anyways, again, Machine Head is cool and one of my favorite Invincible villains. Speaking of Battle Beast, well, he's at 5th place. Dude is such a menace, and look, I know he's not really a villain, but he kinda was an antagonist, even if it was just a moment. I mean, this dude was putting belt to ass on Invincible. Like, I swear, when I saw this dude for the first time, I thought Mark was gonna run through him, and I was wrong. Mark was the one that got ran through. Pause. I mean, Battle Beast was putting up some Street Fighter level combos on this man, and ever since then, he became one of my favorite characters. Now, the only other time he showed up so far in the series is during the prison episode in season 3, and even then, bro is still a menace. What I like about Battle Beast is the fact that this man just wants all the smoke. He doesn't care how young or old you are. If he thinks you're strong, he's gonna fight you. Again, I know he's not really a villain, but man, he's such a fun character. Here we have the Mauler twins. These two blue, well-spoken dudes are some of the best parts of Invincible. They usually show up here and there just to cause some trouble, and most of the time it's just pure entertainment, whether it's they're bickering with one another or just how casually they speak to the other heroes. They're always fun to watch. But man, what my boy Oliver did to them? Shit, it was insane, and honestly kind of deserved since, you know, these two are evil. But apart from them getting killed by Oliver, their presence always makes whatever scene they're in better, and because of that, I had to put them at this spot. Hopefully they show up again. I mean, I don't know how they would, but this is a superhero show we're talking about. They can definitely pull off some reincarnation cloning shit. Now, my third favorite villain in the series so far goes to this KSI looking mofo. What's crazy is that I didn't expect Angstrom to rank this high because, not gonna lie, I didn't like his character that much at first. First of all, his design is just kinda ugly. But now that I look back at it, it's ugly in a good way. And also, his reasoning for hating Invincible makes sense until you start thinking about it a little. Like, this dude, due to him being fused with the memories of all, you know, his other variants, realizes not only what Invincible did to his other selves in their universes, but also how he's just a straight up villainous person, again, in those universes. It makes some sort of sense onto why he would hate the guy, but come on, he blames Mark for disfiguring him and making the mind transfer device go wrong. While technically Invincible did intervene, Angstrom was the one who took off the helmet thingy, causing the thing to explode. And you could say, oh, he just did that in order to save Invincible from the Maulers, but it was still his fault. And now when everything went to shit and he ends up looking like mutated hemorrhoids, he's now blaming Invincible. But the biggest reason why I think his actions were stupid is because this man literally went into different universes, finds the most evil versions of Invincible, the same guy that literally killed his other selves, then brings them back to kill the actual good Invincible. Like, make it make sense. Like, am I missing something? Like, that's dumb. But you know, that aside, I still do love his inclusion in the series and the impact he had on Invincible's life. Bro literally threatened Debbie and Oliver's life, causing Mark to crash out and actually take someone's life for the first time. Well, technically Angstrom wasn't dead, but still, he was also the main reason the Invincible War even happened, which again was another devastating period for Mark's mental, because of the amount of destruction they caused across the world. Those alone made me put some respect on Angstrom's name, and because of all these things, he became my third favorite villain in the series so far.
Stand ready for my arrival, nigga.
Conquest. For a guy with only one episode dedicated to him, he left such a strong impression. This man literally pulled up on Invincible while he was having the worst week of his life, and he said, you know what, I'm gonna make this shit worse. What's funny is how badly he wanted Invincible to resist. The second he realized Mark wanted to scrap, it's like bro had a boner. He just wanted to fight. And to be honest, I wish him and Battle Beast met so they could have, I don't know, a crazy fight or something. Nah, that would be crazy. Anyways, bro grabbed Mark by his neck talking about, I want more. Like, ref, do something. This man is genuinely insane, and the whole fight was just phenomenal. It was animated so well, and the violence in it was really gruesome. I mean, they were flying over the world, destroying cities. This dude Conquest blew a heart bubble made out of his own blood towards Invincible. The way he just bitch slapped the hell out of Oliver and then started stretching him. I'm not gonna lie, I was genuinely scared for my boy Oliver in this scene. Then when Eve stepped in like she was gonna do something, bro took no time and turned her into a donut. She still clutched up at the end though. Like, bro was such a menace, and yet he was only in the show for like a single episode. But what made me like him even more as a villain is the speech he gave Mark. You know, the I'm so lonely speech. It gave him some sort of depth and made him seem like an actual person with feelings despite him being an old war veteran. But it's what he said after this that made me like him even more. Take it to the grave. It just made him seem even more sadistic. Now I know some people are gonna hate on this placement, But again, I'm just ranking them based on how much I like them as villains, and Conquest is just one of those guys that doesn't have to have a super sad backstory or be someone that was, super close to Mark or anything. Cause sometimes we just like seeing villains being villains, and that's what made me place him this high. And finally at number 1 we have Omniman. Okay, look, I get it. Technically he's no longer an antagonist, but when he was, he literally made the whole show. I think Omni-Man carried season 1. Not saying it was bad or anything, hell no, it was super good. It's just that he stole every scene he was in, and he left a major impact on the story too. From the first time we saw him, we thought he was just your typical superhero, but then he killed the Guardians of the Globe, and it had me thinking that he probably had a good reason to. But nah, he was just doing that because they were like an annoyance to him and could be a threat. Throughout the whole show, you're wondering what his motives are, why did he do that. We then see how some characters are just oblivious to this while others were catching on. And it was such an interesting watch. And finally at the end when he came out, not like that, but when he told Mark that, hey, I'm an alien from a different warmongering planet that was sent here to take over Earth, and also by the way your mom's a pet to me. I don't know, man, I felt so bad for Debbie after he called her that. The fight afterwards was also super great and well animated, and he showed not only Mark but the viewers as well that there's levels to this shit. And at the end when he was going off saying what will you have after this and that many years, and Mark replying, I would have you, dad. And seeing the reaction of him made this very emotional. And again, seeing him in season 2 and 3 kinda regretting what he did was very interesting. What makes Omni-Man so great is the amount of depth he has as a character, and how much impact he had on the story. And yeah, I don't really have much more to say about him. He's just a phenomenal first season villain and overall great character that I can't wait to see more of. So that was basically it for my Invincible ranking. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and again, if I missed anything, let me know down in the comments below. Again, I really enjoyed making this video, and again, I just really love Invincible, so I just wanted to talk about it. So yeah, have a good one.